It's been a while since I've got to talk to y'all about my favorite topic, so we're going to talk about it today. I'm going to try not to get emotional, but I love David. I don't think David was a good husband. I wouldn't tell somebody, oh, that's how you should pattern your spouse after. But David's character moves me in so many ways. There's so many things about David that really sticks out to me. And a long time ago, I had a conversation with God because I was like upset over the way that I thought God mishandled Saul. I was real young, and I just didn't know a lot about the Bible, and I had read about Saul, and, God had rejected him, and I thought God's rejection of him was what made him not successful. But it was Saul's rejection of God that made him not successful. And it took me a little while to see it because it looked unfair to me, and I didn't know how to rightly divide the word. But when you look at David and you look at Saul by comparison, and you put them together, just kind of looking at character, there's something about Saul and David that sticks out distinguishedly to me in the Word. And one of those things is that my favorite thing that God says about David, because I want the Lord to say this about me, is God says he is a man after God's heart. God says he's a man after my own heart. David is after my heart, He didn't say David was without mistake. He didn't say David was without mess ups. He didn't say David was without flaw. He said David was on a journey to find God's heart. And I thought, Lord, that's what I want you to say about me. I want you to be like, Tracy is this girl who's on a journey to be after my heart. But then you see something about Saul in Scripture, and it took me a while to really see it, but something about Saul that really set out is David was after God's heart, and Saul was after his own heart. David sought things like, how many times do you see in Scripture where David goes, nope, I don't want to fall into the hands of an enemy. I want to fall into the hands of God. Or when he has opportunities to harm Saul, he goes, no, I will not touch the Lord's anointed. Because whether or not Saul was doing what he was supposed to be doing, he still saw that he was in the position to be king and that God himself had not removed Saul from the throne, and so David would not harm him. And he just had this heart that I just loved. But Saul had a continual heart about himself. One of the things about Saul, and this is this last thing I'm going to say, and then I'm going to get into the thing I wanted to say about David this morning. One of the things about Saul that I saw one day that really opened my eyes was when you get into the Scripture where God tells him to go and destroy the king Agag, and he sends him to destroy all of them. And I know people are like, well, that's so... Anyway, I'm not going to get into that. I'm not going to get to that point. But God sends Saul out to destroy this whole group of people. Nobody's supposed to be left alive. No animals, no woman, child, man, nothing, nobody. And whether we understand that or like it or not, that's what the Lord instructed Saul to do. And Saul does not do that. And so when Samuel goes to find him, two things Scripture says about him. Scripture says that Saul had built himself his own image, had made himself an image. And the second thing that Scripture teaches